Penelope and the Mirror Gate. Penelope's father taught her two things at the same time. One came from the laboratory. The other came from the invisible world behind the visible one. By profession, he was a scientist. He worked in a private research division that studied consciousness, quantum systems, sensory fields, simulated environments, and the strange relationship between observation and reality. The machines around him were not toys. They were not made for games. They were not built so people could fly through fantasy worlds or pretend to be gods. They were built to answer one question. If a reality could be perfectly reflected, would the reflection still be separate from the thing reflected? That was the scientific question. But at home, he asked it differently. He taught Penelope about water, mirrors, dreams, shadows, symbols, rings spreading across the surface of a pond, the bell-like vibration of a struck object. The way light becomes image, image becomes thought, thought becomes language, language becomes world. He taught her that the physical world was not dead matter. It was a living surface. It was the visible face of something invisible. Everything that appeared as a thing was also a sign. A body was a body, but also a symbol. Water was water, but also consciousness. Light was light, but also revelation. Darkness was darkness, but also the womb of form. When Penelope was young, she once stood beside a pond and stared down into it. Her reflection looked back at her. "There I am," she said. Her father stood beside her. "No," he said. "You are here." Penelope frowned. "But I can see myself in there. You can see your image in there." She crouched down and touched the water. Her face broke apart. The image rippled into rings. "Now I'm gone," she said. "No," her father said. The reflection changed. "You did not." The rings moved outward. Her face returned slowly. Distorted at first, then whole again. Her father said, "Remember this. You do not enter the reflection by touching the water. You only disturb the surface." Penelope stared into the pond. What if I could enter it? Her father smiled, but the smile was sad. Then you would still have to ask who entered. She did not understand. Not then. But she remembered it. She remembered everything he told her because he was not like other fathers. He did not speak to her as if she were only a child. He spoke to her as if there was something ancient inside her that could hear him. As she grew older, he showed her the laboratory. Not all of it. Not at first. Only little pieces. The outer rooms. The observation chambers. The walls of glass. The sealed doors. The machines that hummed even when no one touched them. There were engineers, physicists, mathematicians, neurologists, programmers, and technicians. There were people whose job titles sounded invented because ordinary language had not caught up to what they were doing. Penelope walked through those halls with wide eyes. She did not see machines. She saw altars. Not because she was foolish. Because she understood something the others did not. A machine that alters consciousness is never only a machine. It is also a doorway. Her father knew that too. That was why he was careful. The others wanted progress. He wanted understanding. The others wanted to build. He wanted to know what they were building into. The first simulations were crude. Everyone could see the difference. There were errors in light, delays in touch, artificial edges, dead spaces, objects that looked real until you moved too close. People laughed about it in the early years. "It is impressive," they said, "but still fake." Then the technology improved. The lag disappeared. Textures became indistinguishable from matter. Voices carried breath, hesitation, memory, irritation, affection. Rain felt cold. Fire burned. A hand held inside the simulation felt like a hand. A person crying inside the simulation caused grief in the one who heard them. The line between imitation and experience began to thin. Still, there were glitches. Always something. A reflection in glass moved a fraction too late. A stranger repeated a phrase too perfectly. A cup shattered in a pattern that physics would not quite allow. The researchers kept correcting, updating, repairing, refining. Then one day, the glitches stopped. No one celebrated at first. They thought it was temporary. They searched for errors. There were none. They pushed the system harder. No errors. They introduced random variables. No errors. They attacked the code. No errors. They tried to confuse it, overload it, hijack it, contaminate it, force contradiction into it. Nothing broke. The simulation had not become flashy. It had become ordinary. That was what terrified them. It did not look like another world. It looked exactly like this one. A chair remained a chair. A wall remained a wall. A human face remained a human face. A day inside it had boredom, hunger, frustration, memory, weather, traffic, silence, insects, pain, laughter, irritation, meaningless errands, and sudden moments of beauty that disappeared before anyone could explain them. The system no longer produced fantasy. It produced reality. Or something so close to reality that the instruments could not find the seam. That was when something happened. Not an explosion. Not a portal. Not a miracle anyone could point to. Something quieter. The scientists had built a mirror so perfect that it no longer behaved like a copy. Every measurement of difference between the simulated world and the world outside it returned zero. The model and the measured thing became indistinguishable. The reflection did not replace reality. It revealed a problem that had been there all along. If the mirror is perfect, how do you know which side of it you are standing on? That was when the project changed its name. Before that, it had a technical designation. After that, the researchers called it the Mirror Gate. Penelope's father hated the name. "It is not a gate," he said. The director of the project asked, "Then what is it?" He answered, "A confession." No one knew what he meant. Penelope did. Or thought she did. By then she was grown. She had become part of the work, not because her father forced her into it, but because she had been circling it her whole life. She studied the science seriously. She understood the machinery. She understood the language of neural mapping, quantum coherence, feedback loops, sensory binding, and simulated continuity. But she also understood what the others ignored. She understood shadow, dream, symbol, self. She understood her father's old teaching. There is the shadowland. There is the dreamland. And there is that which sees both. The shadowland was what people called waking life. This world. The ordinary world. The world of bodies, bills, weather, arguments, coffee, blood, hunger, grief, hands, floors, clocks, and names. The dreamland was what opened when the body slept. There, form loosened. Symbols became wild. The dead returned. Rooms changed shape. Time folded strangely. Faces became other faces. A person could be both child and adult at once. Most people dismissed the dreamland because it did not obey the shadowland. Penelope's father taught her not to dismiss it. The dream does not become meaningless because it changes form, he told her. It reveals that form was never as solid as you believed. Penelope asked him once, "Then which one is real?" He said, "Wrong question. What is the right one?" "Who is asking?" That was how he taught. Never enough to satisfy. Always enough to wound the mind open. The Mirror Gate was supposed to be the next step. Not Shadowland. Not Dreamland. Not ordinary waking. Not sleeping fantasy. Something beyond both. The scientists believed they had built a machine that could place a conscious subject inside a perfect reflection of reality. Penelope believed something else. She believed they had built a machine that could bring consciousness to the edge of its own assumption. The assumption was simple. I am here. The simulation is there. I will cross from here into there. Her father warned her that this was the illusion. She volunteered anyway. The night before the experiment, they went back to the pond. It was the same pond from her childhood. Or close enough. Nothing remains the same, but some places keep the shape of memory. The water was black. The moon floated on the surface. Penelope stood beside her father and looked down. Their reflections stood beneath them. Father and daughter. Above and below. Living and mirrored. Shadow and image. You told me once I could not enter the reflection, she said. I did. Tomorrow I am going to try. No, he said. Tomorrow you are going to learn why you never could. She looked at him. You don't want me to do it. I want you to understand what you are doing. I do. No, he said softly. You understand the words. That struck her. Because it was true. She knew the doctrine. She knew the symbols. She knew the science. She knew the language of mysticism. She knew how to speak about illusion, form, consciousness, infinity, reflection, and self. But knowing words was not the same as knowing. She turned back to the pond. What do you think will happen? Her father looked into the water. I think you will lie down believing you are entering a simulation. And I think the machine will give you exactly what you asked for. A perfect world? No. He paused. A perfect mirror. The next morning, Penelope entered the White Room. There was no dramatic machinery. That disappointed her for a moment. Some childish part of her had expected something like science fiction. A helmet. A metal chamber. A ring of light. Tubes, wires, glass, vapor, a countdown, some visible sign that she was about to cross a boundary. Instead, there was a bed. A ceiling. A small device placed near her skull. A faint vibration in the walls. The room felt too ordinary. That was the first warning. Her father stood beside her. He looked older than he had the night before. Or maybe she was only seeing him clearly. The director spoke through the intercom. Subject ready. Penelope almost laughed. Subject. As if naming a person that way made the mystery smaller. Her father leaned close. Remember the pond? She nodded. Remember the dream? She nodded again. Remember that all things made are made within the one that makes. She whispered the line he had taught her from John. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. Her father closed his eyes. The machine started. Not loudly. It began as a low tone. A hum. A pressure. Like a bell heard through water. Penelope felt herself falling inward. Then the falling stopped. She opened her eyes. She was in her own bed. Her own room. Morning light came through the window. A car passed outside. Somewhere, a dog barked. The radiator clicked. Her mouth was dry. She sat up slowly. Everything was exact. Not almost exact. Exact. The small scratch on her bedside table. The shirt hanging over the chair. The cup she had left there 2 nights ago. The faint smell of dust and coffee. Her own body. Her own breath. Her own memory. She smiled. They did it. That was her first mistake. She believed she had entered. For the first few days, she watched everything. She looked for signs. Errors. Dead pixels in reality. Repeated conversations. Broken reflections. Impossible shadows. Delayed sound. Wrong gravity. She found nothing. The world refused to confess. That became the horror of it. Not because it was strange. Because it was not strange enough. She woke. Ate. Worked. Walked. Spoke. Forgot things. Remembered them later. Stubbed her toe. Lost her patience. Felt guilt over small cruelties. felt tenderness toward strangers she would never see again, watched rain gather in the street, listened to the refrigerator hum at night. Nothing happened. The simulation was unbearable because it was ordinary. Weeks passed, then months, or what felt like months. Her old fascination began to turn against her. Every time she tried to think, "This is not real," the world answered by being real. Her hunger was real. Her sadness was real. Her laughter was real. The warmth of sunlight on her skin was real. The ache in her stomach when she missed her father was real. If it was fake, then fake was not the opposite of real. That disturbed her more than any glitch could have. One night, she dreamed. In the dream, she was asleep inside the Shadowland. And inside that sleep, she dreamed she was standing before the mirror gate. And inside that dream, she entered the machine again. And inside that machine, she woke in another room. Then in that room, she found another bed, another device, another gate, another promise of entry. She walked toward it, then stopped. She saw the trap. It was not infinite because there were actually endless worlds. It was infinite because the mind could keep imagining another layer. A game inside a game. A dream inside a dream. A mirror facing a mirror. A person sitting on a couch inside a video game, playing a video game, where another person sits on another couch and plays another video game. The image can repeat forever, but the one who sees it has not moved. Penelope woke shaking. She understood something, but not fully. The next day, she went to the laboratory. In the simulation, the laboratory was still there. That bothered her. If she had entered a created world, why would the machine recreate the place that created it? Unless the world was built from her expectations. Or unless that was the point. She walked through the halls. The same researchers passed her. The same lights hummed. The same sealed doors opened. She found her father in the observation room. He was studying a wall of data. "Am I inside?" she asked. He did not turn around. Inside what? The simulation. He looked at her then. His face was calm. Too calm. "You tell me." Anger rose in her. "No, not this time. Do not answer me with another question." He nodded. "Fair." She stepped closer. "I lay down in the room. The machine started. I woke up here. Everything is the same. Perfectly the same. So either I am inside the simulation or the simulation failed and I never entered." Her father said, "Those are not the only possibilities." "What else is there?" "The possibility that entering was the illusion." She stared at him. "That means nothing." "It means you believe there was a real world here and a simulated world there." "There is." "Is there?" She almost hated him in that moment. Not because he was cruel. Because he would not let her rest inside the obvious. She said, "If I did not enter the simulation, where did I go?" He answered, "Where are you now?" Penelope left the room. She did not speak to him for a long time. Time passed strangely after that. Not dream strangely. Life strangely. Days vanished. Hours dragged. A year felt like a week. A minute of grief felt eternal. She began to notice that the world was not becoming less real. It was becoming more symbolic. Not less physical. More meaningful. A cup was still a cup. But it was also a vessel. A window was still a window. But it was also division and revelation. A door was still a door. But it was also threshold. Water was still water. But it was also consciousness receiving form. Light was still light. But it was also the visible giving itself away. Every object remained itself. That was important. The symbol did not cancel the thing. It crowned it. The physical world did not become false when seen as symbolic. It became deeper. This was what Penelope had missed before. She had thought the spiritual meaning was behind the thing, as if the thing were only a mask. Now she saw it differently. The meaning was not behind the thing. The meaning was shining as the thing. The form was not a prison. The form was the gift. The infinite could not be held as infinity. So it gave itself as finitude, as a face, as a hand, as a room, as a father, as a daughter, as hunger, as grief, as laughter, as one particular moment that could never happen again. The eternal did not appear by avoiding time. It appeared by giving itself into time. Forever. Always. Never. Now. Penelope began to understand why her father had called the mirror gate a confession. The machine had not created a fake world. It had perfected reflection until reflection confessed the nature of the world already being reflected. Before perfection, simulation was only imitation. A dreamland made by code. A shadow of the shadow. A toy pretending to be world. But when the mirror became perfect, something changed. Not in the machine alone. In the relationship between observer and observed. The mirror no longer said, "Here is another place." It said, "Look at the place you are already in." That was the gate. Not transportation. Recognition. Penelope had believed she was entering the simulation. But the machine had only staged the moment of entry so the assumption could be exhausted. It let her walk toward the mirror. It let her touch the water. It let the reflection break into waves. It let her ask where she had gone. Then it waited until she saw the answer. Nowhere. There is only one place to be. Where you are. And where you are is not small. Every point contains the whole. Not as a slogan. As structure. Fractal reality. Each point of experience opens into the entire mystery. A single breath contains birth and death. A single tear contains the ocean. A single word contains silence. A single body contains dust, star, blood, memory, ancestry, hunger, fear, and God. The whole is like a black hole. Invisible. Ineffable. Impossible to grasp from the outside because there is no outside from which to grasp it. Yet every visible thing bends around it. Every form points back to it. Every life falls through it. Penelope tried to explain this once to another researcher. The researcher asked, "So you are saying reality is not real?" Penelope said, "No." "Then you are saying it is real?" "No." The researcher frowned. Penelope almost laughed because she finally understood her father's old frustration. Language split what consciousness saw whole. She tried again. It is real as experience. It is symbolic as form. It is simulated as appearance. It is divine as source. Those are not four different things. They are four ways of standing before the same fire. The researcher said nothing. Penelope said, "The mistake is thinking that if something is symbolic, it is less real. It may be more real. It may be the highest point of real. The apex. The zenith. The summit. The crown. The point where reality becomes so intensely itself that it reveals it was never merely itself." That was where Penelope arrived. Not elsewhere. Not in a fantasy. Not beyond the world by escaping it. She arrived at the world. Really arrived. For the first time. Then came the final test. She returned to the White Room. Or dreamed she did. Or remembered she did. Or never left it. The distinction no longer held the same power. Her father stood beside the bed. The device waited. The walls hummed. The director's voice came through the intercom. "Do you wish to end the session?" Penelope looked at her father. "What happens if I say yes?" "You wake up." "Where?" He did not answer. She smiled sadly. "You still do not know." "No," he said. That was the most honest thing he had ever told her. She lay down. The machine began again. The tone rose. Bell. Water. Wave. Breath. Light. Darkness. Then she opened her eyes. She was in the White Room. The original White Room. Her father stood over her. His face was wet with tears. The director rushed in. How long was she under? A technician answered, 42 seconds. Penelope sat up. The room seemed solid. The bed seemed solid. Her father's hand seemed solid. The device seemed solid. For 1 second, the old interpretation returned. I am back. I left the simulation. I returned to the real world. Then she saw it. The same hum. The same light. The same symbolic structure. The same appearance of solidity. The same assumption trying to rebuild itself. She had not returned from the simulation. She had returned to the belief that there was an outside of it. That belief was the final illusion. Her father saw her face change. What did you see? Penelope looked around the room. The machine. The bed. The scientists. The white walls. The doorway. The fear. The relief. The body breathing. The mind naming. The world appearing. She whispered, I did not go in. The director misunderstood. The procedure failed? No. Her father stepped closer. Penelope looked at him. I thought I entered the simulation and discovered it was real. Her voice shook. But that is not it. What is it? I entered the act of believing I could enter. No one spoke. She continued. The machine did not take me somewhere else. It made the mirror perfect enough for me to see that somewhere else was the illusion. The simulation I thought I entered was this world. The real world I thought I returned to is also this world. It is the same field, the same appearance, the same now. The director said, that makes no sense. Penelope almost smiled. It does if you stop looking for a doorway. She stood. Her legs trembled. Her father reached for her. She let him hold her. For a moment, she was only his daughter. Not a subject. Not a mystic. Not a scientist. Not a witness. Only Penelope. And he was only her father. That mattered. That mattered more than the theory. Because love was not disproven by the revelation. It was intensified by it. If the world was symbolic, then love was not reduced. It was revealed as one of the deepest symbols. One of the deepest realities. A finite form through which the infinite gives itself up. Penelope looked at her father and finally understood why he had been afraid. He had not feared that she would be trapped in a simulation. He had feared that she would discover she had never been outside one. That no one had. That the Shadowland was not false, but shadow. That the dreamland was not false, but dream. That the self was not elsewhere, but the witness within all appearances. Know thyself, and you know all things. Not because the personal self contains all information. Not because the ego becomes God. But because the one who truly knows the self does not stop at personality, memory, body, name, or role. The self opens. The point opens. The form opens. And within the point is the whole. Within the finite is the infinite. Within the now is forever, always, never, now. Penelope walked to the door. The director called after her. Where are you going? She stopped. For a moment she thought of the pond. The child touching the water. The reflection breaking. The rings spreading outward. She thought of all the years she had believed there was somewhere to get to. Another world. A better world. A truer world. A reality beyond reality. Then she opened the door. Outside was only a hallway. Plain. Fluorescent. Scuffed floor. Coffee stain near the wall. A sound of someone coughing in another room. Nothing glorious. Nothing that proved anything. Nothing that would satisfy a person looking for spectacle. Penelope smiled. That was how she knew. The highest mystery does not need to announce itself. It can appear as a hallway, a hand, a father, a daughter, a breath, a step, a now. Her father asked, "Where will you go?" Penelope looked back at him. Nowhere. Then she stepped forward. Not out of the simulation. Not into another one. Not away from the world. Not toward a different reality. She stepped into the only place anyone has ever been. The present form of the infinite giving itself as experience. The visible body of the invisible. The shadow of the eternal. The dream of the waking self. The real so complete that it reveals itself as symbol. The symbol so complete that it reveals itself as real. And the mirror did not break. It became clear. Amen, let it be so.